Today's episode of Why Music Matters is sponsored by Buffalo Spree magazine. From the start, Buffalo Spree has been a champion of Western New York's arts community, with every issue showcasing the best of Western New York. What's on stage, on view, in the clubs, and in the concert halls. Pick up the latest issue to get a closer look, or visit buffalospree.com.
This whole experience of life, right, is just such like a, I don't know, amazing, but also hard to put your finger on thing, right? And like there's moments sometimes where you kind of feel, I guess that would be the transcending thing, where you feel like you're really getting what's going on for like just a split second. And music seems to be one of those times where that just can happen very often.
They were liars from the old world.
Hey everybody, welcome to Why Music Matters, a podcast where we examine the power and influence that music can wield in our lives. I'm your host, Jeff Miers. Today my guests are three musicians who seem destined to end up playing together. Guitarist vocalist Drew Azzinaro, bassist vocalist Eamon Rayhn, and drummer Ethan Fox all hail from Buffalo, New York. And they met in the music department at the State University of New York at Fredonia about a decade back. It would take them a few years and a handful of varied musical ventures to finally come together as the Far Trio. But when they did start playing together as a unit, to borrow a phrase from Robert Fripp, grace was present. Performing what they describe as a blend of earthy fusion and soul-drenched rock and roll, with a healthy dose of improvisation and a keen ear for adventurous song structures. The Far Trio quickly earned a reputation as a top-tier live act. They've since released a pair of studio albums and are currently at work on a third in Woodstock, New York. In between, they've managed to perform more than 150 shows a year across the Northeast. During our chat, we touched on musical inspiration, the power of improvisation, and music's ability to elevate both the musician and the listener. Welcome to Why Music Matters, Drew, Eamon, and Ethan, the Far Trio.
One day I know, and by then I hope we've broken the code to exist as one in harmony, helplessly caring in every opportunity. What you want ain't written in the stars, but in dust from the devil's heart. There's no good or evil.
Welcome to Why Music Matters, you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I've been a fan. Well, Drew, I've known you a long time, and I've been a fan of what you guys do and how much sound you're able to chase in the trio format. And I want to hear all about that. And I want to get some background and some history on everybody. Drew, I thought I would start with you. And forgive me if this gets like too hippied out, but I think, I think we're amongst fellow travelers here. So,
Yeah, we're in good company.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed about your playing since the time I met you and started hearing you play, and then later, like you were, Declan was playing with you sometimes, and it's just been really a treat to watch your playing develop and change and over time. But one thing I always thought was, it struck me that your relationship with the instrument seemed to have some, for want of a better word, spiritual kind of overtones to it. Like, I always thought when you played, I'm like, oh, there he goes. He's off. You know, you're somewhere maybe a little bit elevated, like in a space where, you know, transcendence becomes a word you can throw around, you know. But is that real, or did I have too many IPAs that night, or is that something that is real to you, and is it something you're aware of?
I mean, it's definitely, you know, I guess I would say, like, I agree with everything you said. I mean, I take it as, I appreciate that observation, you know, and you know, I guess I would say, like, I have always just been like, I don't know, this whole experience of life, right, is just, it's just such like a, I don't know, amazing, but also hard to put your finger on thing, right? And like, there's moments sometimes where you kind of feel, I guess that would be the transcending thing, where you feel like you're really getting what's going on for like just a split second. And music seems to be one of those times where that just can happen very often, you know, like, it's such a great space to be when things are going well, when you're able to hear things and connect and sound, and like, so I feel like in a weird way it's like actually maybe more present, which is transcending what's normally going on, like the story, the ego, the
Right.
you know, all the other junk. It's like, actually for a moment there's like more of a presence, which is the transcending.
Yeah.
You know, and music just seems to be one of those things that, like, I don't, it doesn't feel right if that's not happening, I guess, you know, like,
it's the goal. It's the goal, right? To try to get to the
goal. Yeah. And to be fair, that doesn't always, you know, happen, or I guess it's always happening, but we're not always aware of it. It's not always
there could be interference
experience
on any given night, right? There could be interference. Sometimes we're not like,
you know,
in tune enough.
Yeah. Or it could be like, we just didn't know the thing well enough. So the story's going on again, like, oh man, people think that I sound bad up here and whatever, and then all of a sudden you're not there, right?
And then you spiral it out.
Yeah,
Totally.
now you're just back in your head, and you're not just feeling that, you know, because it's sometimes I'll have with students that come over and I'll just be like, man, they're playing something, we'll just stop and like, it's just an open string, a scale out. I'm like, isn't that just beautiful though? Just for a moment, like, it's just, you just listen to the guitar. It's just, you know, no one has to do anything special for it to be special.
That's a good quote. Yeah.
You know, and I guess music is like one of those times where that you can recognize that, you know, nature can do it too and stuff, but yeah. I think music, and you get to express in music, you know, and so I don't know, for me, it's also a time where like, I feel like we're all very emotional people, but we tend to hold those things in check. And it's like, it's actually another time with music where it's wrong to hold those in check. Like, no one wants you to, they want you to express, you know, and it's, yeah. So I don't know if that answered the question or not.
It totally does. It totally does.
Cool.
I mean, building off of that, talk about, you know, meeting your two partners here and how maybe some of that philosophy, like, you always know when you meet people and you play together, you can kind of tell the first time, right? Like, oh, there's something here. Like like Robert Fripp would say, grace was present, you know, something was in the room when I played with these people, when we played together. Is there a story like that with you guys? And can you talk about like meeting and playing together? Cause I know everybody's done different things.
Yeah. Well, they knew each other. I think before I knew them, you know, I'm just a couple of years older than them, and we all met at Fredonia. So
yeah. I want to get to Fredonia. I love talking about Fredonia.
And I met them both in a jazz ensemble, but at different semesters. You know, I was in like, they had already been there for 2 years when I came in, and Ethan was gone studying in India when I first met Eamon. And we did there was something like, I mean, honestly, it's funny. I mean, he was singing. I didn't know him. I don't know where Eamon went, if he's still there or not. But
lost him.
Yeah, I think we lost him. Hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah, he's in. So also, Eamon's in New York City.
He's in New York.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. I think he was trying to do this with like a cafe or something, So.
Okay.
But we'll see if we can get him to get back in here. But I met him at Fredonia, and he was just singing. He wasn't playing bass when we were doing this to get this certain project together. It was a big band. He was a guest singer that came in for the tour. I think it was Soul Vaccination and another song. And the other one, I can't remember what it was at the moment, but we had like a thing together where he like sang and I played,
cool.
Like riff back and forth. It was one of those moments where you got the chills, and I was like, oh man, I'm digging this, and I remember just looking at him and like, I was like, man, we're going to do something together one day. But it was like years after that that we really like dug in together. But yeah. And then Ethan and I, we really met with like a really like a common theme of like exploration. Like I said, he was studying in India, tabla. And when he came back,
I want to hear about that experience.
Yeah, you're going to be,
that is cool.
It was just, we had like that common theme of just like, I really love, like exploring like improvisation and world music. And it was like, he was this guy that really had dove into that. And I thought we really hit it off on those grounds. We went to see a lot of, we were in Fredonia, we went to see a lot of cool like concerts together, like Stefan Harris, right?
Yeah.
Pat Metheny and all. Yeah. So we were exploring a lot of that stuff together and listening together and, and then we formed groups like separately at different times with different projects, sometimes together. So, I don't know if you want to add into that, Ethan.
Ethan. Yeah, I'd love to hear about. Why don't we talk about studying tabla in India? Wow, that's like going to the source, man.
Well, the reason I went when I was a freshman at Fredonia, Zakir Hussain, who recently just passed away, unfortunately.
One of the greats.
He came, amazing musician.
And good human.
I saw him. Fortunately, I was able to see him a bunch of times throughout the years. And he came, the first time I saw him was at the UB Center for the Arts. And just that concert, I was like, I got to go study that stuff. And my teacher at Fredonia, Dr. Stonefeld, amazing teacher. She was very supportive, and she knew, she's like, you should go to India, go study that stuff. And after she said that, the next year I was there. So it was pretty awesome. Then spent 6 months in India, learning about the culture, learning about the music. And it was life-changing experience for sure.
And interestingly, you learned about the culture and the music, and the two really can be so intertwined there, right? I mean, music is very sacred, my understanding of it. And you mentioned Zakir Hussain. I did attend a masterclass of his at UB. You guys might not have been born yet. No. I was in my 20s, so it was in the 90s. But that really came across to me that like performing music had a sacred aspect to it. Did you get that kind of feeling and vibe? Hey, Eamon's back.
Hey.
Eamon's back.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Everybody, at least the first trip that I was there, when I got to live there for 6 months, it seemed like music was so much more a part of the culture in most people's lives than it is here. And not, like you said, it wasn't just for entertainment purposes. It was used for a variety of different life, ceremonies or funerals, stuff like that. And it was just kind of a part of culture, daily life. So
yeah. Did you get the impression there at all? I've heard this sometimes over the years, that perhaps like Indian classical musicians aren't all fond of like the sort of westernization of it. In other words, using say tabla or sitar in rock music, or has that culture changed at all, or is there still a little bit of a suspicion surrounding that?
I'm sure with some people they feel that way, but most of the musicians that I've become, close with over the years, they're pretty open-minded when it comes to Westerners playing their music, or like you said, mixing like a fusion of different musics.
Yeah.
There's always going to be people that, won't like it, but I think overall people are appreciative of, the combinations that come out of it.
So coming away from that, what do you think that experience gave you as a musician and as a bandmate and a listener, all of it?
I mean, I think if anything, just more about like what Drew was saying, with listening, really trying to open up to that moment, like because the music for them, it was like practicing to them is sacred, you know.
Yeah.
So just really trying to be in the moment, and so much of how they practice is almost like meditative. In the way I've learned, at least, is like trying to treat it almost as a meditation kind of. So kind of, yeah, what Drew said, trying to really listen, be in the moment, and try to be present as much as you can.
I love it. That's everything.
Yeah.
Eamon, welcome back.
Hey, thank you very much.
We were getting to starting to talk a little bit about Fredonia, and that seems like as a graduate myself from there, so many great things seem to happen there. It just felt like such a I don't know, a crucible, or a melting pot of musical ideas and excitement at the time that I was there. But did being there in that environment have an effect on all of you individually and possibly, on the band eventually?
Yes. I mean, for me it did, because I met some people early on there, and we ended up forming a band, and I don't know, it was kind of like a very free-form thing, because in the Commons area, there would just be some people out there playing like instruments, I don't know, like randomly. That's when it was when I went there.
Yeah.
And we just, I don't know, kind of made some like organic connections there. And I ended up starting a band with some of them, and we didn't really think too much of it, rather than just to make music with each other, because we all kind of like love music. And I don't know. Yeah, it was a very kind of organic, I guess, spiritual thing for us, because not knowing each other's backgrounds, we just got together and just kind of pieced together different things, different types of music. And it was kind of like a very freeform jam thing. And
yeah.
Some of my oldest friends came from that. I don't know about you, because I don't know if you still have friends from where you went.
My best friends are people I met at Fredonia to this day.
Awesome.
And I graduated in '89, so yeah, it's stuck.
Yeah. So,
and we're all musicians, and we all still play together. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then I was there when Dave Fridman was the head tone meister, and obviously he went on to be one of the greatest producers in the world. But a lot of people I knew from that time are scattered throughout the music industry, and it just seems like something built to last happened there, and it sounds like it was that way for you guys.
It's nice to be surrounded, like we're on this theme of whatever, stuff like spirituality and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny, like, why did they form certain like sects of monks and things? It's like so they could, the original reason I think was to be like, well, hey, some people just want to live this life, like,
right,
be immersed in. And I think with like, Fredonia, it kind of, you could do that thing for those couple of years of music though, it's like literally everybody you were talking to, it was some things you didn't want to do, which was like the chores, which was still
sure.
important. And then, but the other part was like, when that was done, there was only people around where other people immersed in that same, path of life, let's say, so there's just an immersion. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. The
coolest part, though, at least for us, it's like that never really ended.
Yeah.
And especially, in Buffalo, it was like almost part of the reason why. There's many little reasons of moving, but most part of it was like there was just so much stuff to do. It was like so amazing, like that you could get distracted by so many projects in it, instead of like just focusing in on one. It's like, man, I don't know many other mid-sized cities that have like just the amount of like experimental stuff to like, you could play classical music in a chamber thing if you wanted to, you could play tango, you could jazz everywhere, and songwriters, rock,
funk,
it's blues, funk. Yeah. which is like kind of like in college, right?
Yeah.
It's like what it should have been in a sense, at the very least, you know.
It really was like Fredonia. When I got to Fredonia, it was the first place I'd ever felt that, where you're like, oh, I think I found my tribe, you know. And then it led to Buffalo. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely found my tribe. You know, a place where, you know, the things I'd sort of grown up like kind of hiding and like, oh, this isn't accepted, you know, was all of a sudden encouraged by this really artistically inviting environment, you know, that Buffalo definitely had, you know. That's why I moved. You know, I came here for a concert. I went to the Odd, and I'm like, then they took me to Allentown, and I think we went to Nietzsche's, and I'm like, okay, well, I know where I'm gonna live. You know, it was that quick. But not to get off on a tangent, but Eamon, you said something interesting, that you met people, and you know, in the student center, just hanging out, playing, and you wouldn't, you know, you all came from different backgrounds, you know, who knows where everybody was from, but you found a common language in music pretty quickly. And that's just always interesting to me, that this is, you know, maybe it's a cliche by now, but this sort of universal language that is kind of above language in a way. You almost don't need to speak. You're speaking in a different way. And obviously, I don't want to harp on this too much, but things are weird in this country and the world right now. I'm going to be nice about it.
Yeah, that's a nice way.
But it seems like, you know, I keep coming back to this. I'm like, the only time where it just feels like none of that kind of matters for a while is usually something to do with music, in my experience, where it just speaks to our better selves and kind of gives us a chance to come together, even if we're like wildly different. That sounded like a speech, but I'm not running for anything. But I just want to know if, you know, do you guys feel that way too? And I mean, you know, playing live now already feels different. Like somehow it just feels kind of more important. Like maybe a few people will go to a better place because of whatever the musicians gathered here do on a given night, you know?
Drew and I are always having, you know, talking about stupid shit. And then we always, every time it's like the same conversation at the end. We're always like, just play music, just groove it. That's like, we always come back to that.
It's kind of what it boils down to.
It's you know, we talked about like being present in the moment and all this, and like music is one of those things that just like what you said, whatever, the world can be crazy, but in a sense, I mean, and it is, let's not take away from that craziness, but also like on a personal level, moment to moment, maybe it's not all the time, you know, maybe we're carrying some of that baggage with us and into each moment and not enjoying, you know. I've been on this thing recently of just like, like see the awe in things more. I mean, it's not hard. We all do because we love music and art. But it's like you kind of have a choice actually. Like, do you want to see the awe in it, or do you want to like project, you know, stories and onto everything? And you know, and in music is like there's so much awe to see. Yeah. And for a moment, maybe that's like all people need is just they're just here right now, here in the moment, and the moment's good because hopefully what we're bringing is like, you know, you can pay attention to any moment, but hopefully this one is like, hey, it's some tasty sound. That's feeling, you know,
I felt
so like
that.
Not only are we here, but there's something like, I don't know how to use positive or negative, but there's something happening that is filling us with some, you know, I guess positive feelings, you know, and
I guess I think we shouldn't be afraid of the word positive.
It's true.
I like the word. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk
just
about
great to connect that way.
Yeah, it definitely is. Today's episode of Why Music Matters is sponsored by Buffalo Spree magazine. For the past 60 years, Buffalo Spree has been Western New York's guide to living, dining, and entertainment. Every issue helps readers take advantage of the best of Western New York. Whether it's celebrating the exciting changes in our community, introducing you to people you should know, or giving you a taste of what's new on the food and dining scene, Spree has got you covered. Since the beginning, Spree has been a champion of Western New York's arts community, keeping you up to date on what's on stage, on view, and in the clubs and concert halls. Pick up the latest issue to get a closer look, or visit buffalospree.com. If you subscribe with the code JEFFSENTME, you'll get a year of Spree and a free digital edition for just $10. Look for Buffalo Spree's annual Best of Western New York issue, out on stands in late June. So talk about, you guys going from Buffalo to now, having gotten out there, taking this music to different scenes. I'd love to know like how that experience has been for you, but also I want to talk about, this podcast is called Why Music Matters, but I'd like to talk to you about why improvisation in music matters too, because let's face it, there's a difference between, and it's not a qualitative difference, but it is a difference between, you write a song, maybe it has a pretty static arrangement and you perform it and you perform it well the same way every time. People do that. That is also very credible. And some of my favorite music is like that. But then there's the other thing where, the song is, the arrangement is there, but there's, I think it was Bob Weir who said, well, in the middle, we like to take it for a walk through the woods, which is hilarious, Bobby kind of quote. But I like that idea. And I wonder if you could talk about what improvisation individually and collectively means to you guys, and where it takes you that maybe is different than just reading off the page or playing the arrangement that is exactly the way you did it in the studio or whatever.
Just to go back for one moment to I guess two themes we kind of talked about was, one was the moment, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, how can you not be in the moment if you're improvising? I mean, if you are, then you're not really improvising, I guess.
Right.
It's like a tether to the moment. I mean, you have to be in it. I mean, even if we're not improvising, I guess, you're interacting together, but I feel like it's, you really have to be there to hear the sounds that the other people are creating, to hear the sound you're creating, because you don't know what's going to come next.
That's right.
And to me, it's a little bit, I guess everything has the yin and yang, because I could argue both sides, but it's a little bit more like life. I mean, we do set up things, we try to do things, right? Like we're going to go on vacation. I bought the tickets, blah, blah, but we don't really know what's about to happen.
Right. That's part of the appeal.
It's it, man. And at least, I mean, as much as I love improv, which is what I'm doing, I feel like that's a thing I'm trying to always get over, is to not control a situation to work out, because it's, you have to let it do its thing. And again, music is just one of those spots where it just seems to come naturally. But, and I think, you're talking about music being a language and connection of people. And there's part of the thing that connects us, is I guess how we think of music and how we, there's not a wrong way to do it, but the way that we tend to think of music together, the three of us, as a conversation. And, I think that's one of the, it's there's a lot of musicians and I love a lot of stuff, but I don't always connect to everyone. I like listening sometimes to people more than playing with them, or, and why, I guess, I think a lot of it could be the approach, it's
Sure.
what is how we, not a right or wrong thing, but
what speaks to you more? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you either of you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, improvisation to me is just another conversation. I'm still working on a lot of stuff. So
me too.
For me, yeah. I mean,
me too.
It's a constant work in progress. So I can't. I mean, sometimes it goes to a really cool spot, and sometimes you just gotta, I don't know, figure your way out. So
yeah, no, that's a fair point. Uh-oh, took a wrong turn.
Yeah, and then you somehow have to hopefully bring it back.
Where's
to
the
some
one?
sort of home. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that for me is something I feel like it's a lifelong journey. So I mean, and that goes with singing too. To be honest.
Yeah. Right. Well, sure. It doesn't matter whatever your instrument is or the couple that you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and like the it's funny you say like the wrong turn, because like a lot of times though, it's for me again, it's like it's not so much the wrong turn wasn't the wrong chord, or it was again like the wrong thought.
Yep.
Like I don't know. That's like that's a theme of just like continue with me. I'm just things I'm working that I've my whole life since a teenager. Once I don't know, maybe a psychedelic experience or so, whatever. Once you became aware of the story and all of those things, it's like I'm just continually like, man, I want to be in touch with everything that's happening here, like as close as possible. And the wrong turn is usually me blocking that with like the ego.
Totally.
Whether it's like a thought of, wow, that was good, and like, bam, you ruined it, or like, oh, this, you know, I'm not doing something, this doesn't sound right, or they did something, and it's like thoughts. It's just not listening, you know.
Totally.
So,
defense mechanism, because maybe the wrong turn was actually what was supposed to happen, you know.
And that's it. And like, you know, it's like a playground. It's like, instead of it being as serious as like when you mess up in life, it could have a big repercussion.
Sure.
This is like a chance to experiment with you know, being present, and like Eamon said, we're all working on like new things and getting more in touch with our instrument with better vocabulary. And it's like, what a great, I don't know, it's like a thing we just get to go back to all the time. And like, I don't know, I guess it's like church for some people or whatever, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Wherever you find it, but
keep experiencing that, you know.
Yeah. That's a great answer. So with you guys kind of being spread out now, like, tell me, you know, how is the band working? What is a regular month like for you? And I definitely want to hear about things that are coming up too, including,
Awesome.
You know, anything locally here.
Yeah. Well, like Eamon's out in New York.
Yeah.
Ethan and I are pretty close. We're like 15 minutes away.
So you're both in the Catskills.
So, I mean, yeah, we're both in the Catskills. And I guess one really cool thing, I think, I don't know, is like that, you know, this is what we do musically, essentially. So we like the last 2 years we've played, each year was around 150 shows.
Yeah, that's
but
significant.
just together, you know,
Yeah.
which again, for me, coming from like a scene, I'm always a scene guy and like a lot of different projects, and you know, getting caught. And I, again, learned so much and loved that. But it was always hard to maybe just feel like you were immersed in one thing enough to get to that special place,
right,
you know, easily. And so it's just cool that we get to do this every so often. And we just, you know, part of it is we just meet up. We meet up where we're going to go. Sometimes Eamon meets us here in the Catskills and we drive together. Sometimes, you know, we try and make it work, and we're little things that help. We're really like, we just split everything. We make sure we each get our gas money paid individually. You know, like just like let's make it as easy, and those things, like as weird as they sound, I think help like keep it moving.
Oh, they totally matter. They totally matter.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, we try and make the schedule be about what we're doing musically. So a normal weekend, I think, is like Eamon comes out here on Friday. We take off to like the Finger Lakes for like Friday, Saturday. Maybe we jet up to like the Adirondacks on Sunday, and then come back here and he goes to work. And then the next week, maybe we go to Buffalo and we play like a show in Lockport and one in Buffalo. And then we're one back here in the Catskills, and, you know,
that's a
like
really
that.
Cool way to do it. Does the area, you know, I'm just thinking about this with Garth Hudson just dying and like all the members of the band kind of being gone now. But I'm wondering if the environment there in the Catskills has imprinted on your music. I mean, because there is a Catskills sound to me for sure. You know, whether it's Mercury, Rever, whatever, just as like the band, you know, sounded like Woodstock or Socrates or whatever, you know, there was. Is that a real thing? Does environment imprint on the sound that you guys make?
Being here, I mean, we just recorded in Woodstock. Actually,
Yeah.
We're just finishing up a couple
Awesome.
recordings with a great guy, Scott Petito, who like has worked with Levon a lot,
Yeah.
and Gareth a lot. And but in terms of like, I mean, I think being in nature is like a different thing, like just the observance of sound and like how your ears kind of change. And again, I don't think it's a good or bad thing, to be honest, right? There's a thing of, I mean, Eamon's in New York half the week and then he's out here half the week. And there's like a thing
That's a
to
good
like
balance.
the sounds of the city. Yeah, you know, and that's really cool too. And I think, at least personally for me being here, I'm more, I think I like less going on a little bit more now, weirdly, in sound.
Yeah.
Than maybe I did when I don't know if that's totally true, but I feel that way a little bit now, you know. And so I think like what you're hearing definitely imprints, and then the scene might, but to be honest, we don't really get to play in like the Hudson Valley, which as weird as it is, for some reason we haven't quite, we play a little bit there, but our scenes are more like a little more rural, like Adirondacks, Finger Lakes out here, and then like we jump to like a city like Buffalo or New York, or you know.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, the physical, the kind of, I don't know, that whole Hudson Valley region is like, it's physically just kind of awe-inspiring. So I guess I meant more than like, you know, particular club scene or anything. Just looking out and seeing that. To me, you know, I mean, I grew up not too far from, you know, there. And when I think about it, it just puts me in a different headspace than, you know, being on Elmwood Ave, which is also awesome, or, you know, or whatever, or being in Toronto or whatever it might be.
I'd say like definitely lyrically a lot more. I mean, I've always loved nature, and that's partially why I moved out here. It was like when I wasn't playing, I was just like, Russ and I were just going out to like go backpack for a couple of days out in the mountains, you know. And so lyrically though, I think like there's just, because you're surrounded by it, there's more of the analogies, because whatever, most of the stuff we're trying to describe is tough. It's not it's not something we do like use like scientific symbols for, right? I mean, with analogies, we're trying to, you know, you can't put your hand on it, so you're trying to with sounds and I think more and more, at least for me lyrically, I those are like, I use those in my, just that's what pops into my head, because like you said, you look out, and as I'm hiking, I'm writing things usually, and like, and it just kind of, a lot of things that I've written have been just on walks near my house, like kind of hike walks, and like I'll have my phone and just like sing something into
Voice
it
memo.
or whatever. So I could pick out many different particular lyrics of like literally a thing that I saw, like a very beautiful red flower on this. It was a columbine flower, and this huge thing of rocks, like a rock slide that fell. And there's a song "Rock and Flower," and it was, but I mean, it just inspired like this juxtaposition of things, and it wasn't about that, you know. But
no, but it's an image that's suggestive. You know what I mean? That you know, it's got legs.
It's got legs, yeah. So and that way, 100%. I think it affects what the music we make. You know.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that sound is, you know, it's hard to pigeonhole, and I wouldn't want to. You know, most music that it truly moves me, I wouldn't pigeonhole, and would have trouble doing so, unless it's metal or something. Or you're like, yeah, this is clearly metal, and that's what it's trying to be. Great, but you know, there's diversity of influence in there, and I wondered, you know, it can be a fool's errand, I guess, to talk about your influences, but I'd like you to anyway, because I'm curious. There's, you know, this kind of blend of soulfulness that's definitely in there, with some, you know, hints of world music, you know, music from other cultures than our own. And then, you know, the improvisation, you know, makes for like a pretty heady mix that's fun, you know, candy for my ears. But I wonder, you know, Drew, I know a little bit most about you and what you loved, which I'm sure is changing all the time, but I'd love to hear what made you want to be a musician, who or what.
With me, or
all three of you, but whoever wants to go first.
I mean, you know, there's early concerts, I think, that really influenced the direction, I would say, of things. I mean, I think we'll probably all, like, you know, my dad liked the Beatles, my mom listened to a lot of Steely Dan and like Boz Scaggs and Eric Clapton, and you know, I mean, when I was like a teenager, before I was playing guitar, I definitely was into like like Green Day and a lot of like grunge, and I still think that's really cool.
It is cool.
But I love, that's great, and but I think going to see Derek Trucks at like 13 or 14, and then seeing the Almonds with Trucks and that, like, the Greg thing, it just, I don't know. And those were like really powerful experiences that I feel like I've kind of continued to chase, and all those things have so many influences in them already that they kind of opened up like, oh, well, now I got to go check out jazz and Schofield and West Montgomery. And I also got to go check out, I guess at the same time I was already into I was into blues before that. That was like, blues was a great way to play guitar, and like Buffalo has that thing where you could go to, there's so many jams that so many people take you under their wing, and like,
oh, that's unlike anywhere.
So amazing. There's too many people to name that I'll forget, but that were like cool and that did that to me as like 15-year-old. But I feel like that's where, at least for me, kind of, it's like, oh, well, now you should really explore these other things, and they've all been so cool.
When those truck shows, were those Derek Trucks band pre-Tedeschi Trucks, right? Like,
the first
the
one
stuff
was
at UB. Yeah, that was
man.
I
had Solomon Burke on one of them.
Yeah, it was, I haven't gotten over those shows either.
No, that was, it's like, it was truly like, wow, this is what church is supposed to be. I think I get it now. Like, like it's super serious, but it's fun, and we're feeling it together as a community. But there's no crap about it. It's not clowning fun. Like, it was, that was like the first time that I don't know, like,
it's spiritual fun. Yeah, I know what you mean. And interestingly, that blend of blues, but also with it was like Coltrane for sure. And and obviously, Indian music was, especially pre-Tedeschi Trucks. I thought Derek was like, I have never heard anyone do this. This is like, the equivalent of like Hendrix arriving or Eddie Van Halen showing up, where I was like, this changed the guitar. Or like the first time I heard, Stash or You Enjoy Myself or something, like these pivotal moments. And I thought he was, but a lot of the musics that he was hinting at are in your trio. I mean, I hear it, not in any way like, oh, that sounds like Trucks, but like, those influences, that same sort of gumbo, which is awesome.
Well, it's funny, we've all, it's like I said, Ethan and I saw a lot of concerts in college. Oh, he might be back. We'll see. The New York. But Eamon and I, interestingly, after we met and we started talking about music, there was like a ton of shows that we were like, oh, you were at that show? Like him and I had both been to like a bunch of these, some Almond stuff.
That's
Santana.
So cool.
We were at the same show. Clapton. It's so funny that we were like, oh, and so if he was here, I'm sure he would. If he comes back, he'll tell you. But his dad was like so he's like a lot of the pure soul influence. I would say Eamon really brought like the Bill Withers side.
Awesome.
Not that Ethan and I didn't dig that stuff hard and like it, but like I think that was like, that's like if even though we saw a lot of the stuff, I mean, if the Almonds and Trucks is like and Clapton is kind of my basis, I think that's is the Impressions, Bill Withers, that kind of.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I'll speak for him for a second, then we'll let Ethan talk about his before I.
So his father was like a aficionado of like Motown and soul, and
he was a bass player and singer that Eamon gave. I mean, he had a record out in the late 70s that it was him as like the front guy, that we have, and
that's cool.
He played with some. Again, if Eamon's back, he could tell you. But I know he opened for the Crusaders, and I think he played for like some pretty big guys, like in that scene, at least like more backing them up, And then he just wanted to do his own band, and so he was like, for Eamon, I think he was a very big influence on listening and showing music, but also because he did the thing, he was like, I don't know, the coach after the game sometimes probably, and all of that with him, and. So he was a serious, he was serious, and he made, and Eamon sang in like choruses and choirs, and when he was a kid, and did, I think he toured, with like the Buffalo something chorus in like Europe. They did stuff, I think his dad was a big impetus for that stuff, and
I love these father-son stories. I love this stuff. So cool. What about you, Ethan?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school and really first started playing in bands, I had a bunch of friends that were really into Frank Zappa, actually.
Yeah.
So
I'm a huge head.
So that was, for me, like when I really started playing, Zappa was like a huge influence on me. So I went through a big Zappa phase.
I'm still in mine.
Yeah.
40 years later.
Yeah, I love Frank. I mean, all
Me
the
too.
drumming, obviously.
Some of the greatest drummers ever passed through,
I mean, yeah, Vinny, Terry,
Come on.
Chester Thompson. Yeah,
Chester Thompson.
Yeah, all those guys. So obviously the percussion and the drumming influence from Frank, compositional stuff I was really into. But as I went to Fredonia, I got more exposed to world music. So obviously the Indian classical music, then huge influence to talk about improvisation. That music is, it's all pretty much mostly improvisation. There'll be some short melodies here, but then it's free to go. So in that way, at being in Fredonia, I mean, it influenced me a lot because, like I mentioned, Dr. Stonefeld, she studied Ghanaian traditional music. So she was very good about exposing all of us to a variety of different styles from around the world, drumming styles.
Yeah.
Traditional, mostly like folkloric kind of stuff. So that, for me, definitely I try to do justice to some of that in my playing. And then meeting Drew really kind of exposing me more to Derek Trucks, like you said, the Allman Brothers stuff, which I always heard growing up. My parents listened to a bunch of classic rock and stuff like that, but never was so much into it when I first started playing. And then Trucks, I mean, for me now, it's kind of like the perfect mix of like Indian classical stuff with rock, blues, so all that stuff. And definitely meeting Drew and Eamon introduced me to all their stuff, like the soul from Eamon and more of that bluesy side from Drew. It's been, huge influence in my playing. I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. What about jazz? Because I hear jazz sensibilities in your playing.
I mean, we all studied jazz, in Fredonia. For me, when I first started taking drum lessons with John Bacon.
Yeah, shout out to John Bacon.
Yeah.
One of the greats.
John, and that was definitely the exposure to jazz was from him for sure, and that continued through Fredonia. And now, we still try to play some, do some covers. We play some like record tunes or a bunch of different stuff. But definitely Fredonia we're really focused a lot more on jazz at that time.
Cool. Well, I think we lost both of your bandmates.
Yeah, we lost both of them.
Well, can you tell me like what's up next? A, with the Woodstock recordings that you've started, and B, like any gigs that we can talk about.
Yeah. So for the recording, we just did 2 days with Scott at his studio in Woodstock last week, and we've got 2 more booked coming up next week, and we'll probably do a few more after that. We just need to schedule those. The goal, at least for this, is to get our third album. This will be a third album. So hopefully that would be done, but sometime this summer it would be the goal. Another set of songs. Usually, at least the way we've done it the past few times, is Drew writes some songs, Eamon writes some songs. So it's kind of half and half. Yeah. Pretty much whoever's singing it is whoever wrote the song. Wrote it. Yeah. Yeah. And then for gigs, we're always playing at least a little bit. Winter is always the slowest for us, but we've got some gigs coming up. Pretty much we're all over the state. We've got something coming up. We're playing in New York City in a week, and then
what's the venue in New York?
We're playing a brewery called Bright Eyes Brewery. It's actually in Long Beach. So
it's in Long Island.
Long Island.
Yeah.
And then the week after that, we're in the Finger Lakes. So we're all over. I mean, we usually post. We're pretty good about posting where we are, but pretty much like what we said earlier, it's like usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday we try to do. Sometimes add a Thursday in there, and a lot of emailing, a lot of driving around in circles.
I remember it well.
Yeah.
Do you think we could look forward to seeing you in Buffalo sometime in spring or summer?
Yeah, we were actually just today. I think Drew texted Jay from Sportsman
My
So I think
man.
we're gonna set something up. We'll probably have something there in the spring, and then the
Excellent.
fall, maybe a late winter one as well.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you. I can't wait to hear the new music. Is it all written?
Yeah.
Everything's written?
I don't think not everything yet. It's still being pieced together. I'm pretty sure.
I like
Eamon,
that.
I don't know about your songs.
Oh yeah,
first
for
round.
the recording, yeah, we're working primarily on Drew stuff right now, just to kind of be in the same headspace.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, me and Drew have stuff written separately, so I just, a lot of times we'll record stuff and it's like he'll do his stuff and my stuff and it's all kind of together and it does work, but like I feel like just to focus on the one mentality of like one thing this time is just focusing on Drew's material at the moment, and then we could touch base to mine. Because they're slightly different writing styles. So
Yeah. Which is cool. And then everybody's bringing their own signature to each other's material anyway, So
yeah.
I like how that evolves. Awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing this stuff. Please send me stuff when you have it.
Yeah.
And we'll let everybody around here know about your gigs and come see you soon. Tell Drew. I'm sorry we lost him.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it
no.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, Jeff, we appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I really appreciate you guys doing it. And I've wanted to do it for a while, and I'm glad we reached out last time. I'm like, oh yeah, let's just do this now. There's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, man.
So, but
Good to see you too. I haven't seen you in a long time.
you too. We'll see you when you come to Buffalo, man.
All right, man.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Definitely see you soon.
Thank you guys for
Yeah.
doing this, and
Thanks, Jeff.
travel safe. Be careful out there. This world's nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
you too, man.
we know. All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Be safe.
Be safe.
Yeah.
Peace.
See you guys. Take care.